Tonight, new financial disclosures from Supreme Court Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito revealing gifts and travel paid for by conservatives. Alito's new filing includes a trip he took to Rome that was paid for by the conservative Notre Dame Law School's Religious Liberty Initiative. Thomas is disclosing, for the first time, private jet trips paid for by GOP megadonor Harlan Crow. There were two trips on Crow's private plane, one to attend a speech in Texas and another to Crow's estate in the Adirondacks. Also listed, 3 properties Thomas sold to Crow, transactions that were not previously disclosed by the justice, but had been revealed by ProPublica's Justin Elliott, who led the investigation into Thomas's dealings with billionaires. Justin is out front now. So, Justin, in looking at these amended disclosures, does that lay to rest the ethics concerns surrounding the justices?
It certainly answers some questions. I mean, this is the first time really we've gotten a extensive statement from Justice Thomas. As you mentioned, he actually admitted for the first time that he'd failed to disclose this real estate deal in which he sold properties down in Georgia to Harlan Crow, the wealthy businessman and political donor who's also his friend. It's also the first time in 25 years that he disclosed private jet flights provided by Harlan Crow last year. But I mean, in terms of the larger ethical questions, I think there's disclosure is just one level of it. The other level is whether public officials should be accepting this kind of largesse, regular private jet travel and free vacations from anyone, which is something that, we've spoken to a lot of federal judges at this point who say they can't imagine taking anything like this. Some of them have told us they are careful about even letting somebody buy them lunch. So I think it's better to have the transparency that we didn't have in the past, but there's the core issue of the gifts themselves.
Yeah, and there is still, there's still a lot we don't know. As you mentioned, this is the first time, more than 20 years before we're hearing about or have seen the reporting of these flights. Justice Thomas's attorney noted that the omission of these dealings with Harlan Crow was, quote, inadvertent. Do you think ultimately there will be a full public accounting of the gifts he's received over the years?
It's a great question. I mean, the Senate Judiciary Committee has sent out some letters to Harlan Crow and others asking for just that, and so far they haven't been getting anything. And it's an open question whether the Democrats on that committee will try to escalate that and maybe issue subpoenas. I mean, we at ProPublica, we've reported that Justice Thomas has taken more than 30 free vacations, I think around 30 now private jet flights. And those are just, that's just what we've discovered through a lot of shoe leather reporting. So he certainly has not come fully clean about what's happened over the last 20 years with this new filing.
It was interesting. It was hard to miss Thomas's attorney taking a shot at your reporting in a lengthy statement that he put out. But at one point saying that the reporting, at least the way I read it, had been, in his words here, a, quote, terrible precedent for political blood sport through federal ethics filings. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I mean, to us, this is just a basic good government issue. I mean, I've been covering ethics for a long time, written about Democrats and Republicans. I think most people can understand that if you have a powerful public official like a Supreme Court justice who's taking, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of gifts from people who have, at the very least, ideological interests related to the Supreme Court or the public official's job, that's something that should be out in the open at the very least, whether it should be happening or not. We welcome the conversation. I mean, we were excited to see this lengthy statement for the first time in months after reporting about this, but don't agree that there's anything wrong with this basic journalistic scrutiny.
Justin, really appreciate you joining us tonight and all the work that you have done here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Harry Enten is with me now. So, Harry, the information uncovered by ProPublica did raise a lot of questions about the ethics of Supreme Court justices. How about public opinion? Where does public opinion land these days?
When I was a kid, I thought, the honesty and ethics of the Supreme Court justices, I held them up to be really, really high, right? But look at what Americans think now. In fact, about a third say they're low. Another third say they're average. Only about a third say they're high. This, to me, is ridiculously low given how high, generally speaking, people in the past have held up Supreme Court justices. We no longer hold them up as these heroes. We hold them up as either average or even below average.
Below average, it looks like. I mean, those numbers are really astounding. So given that, right, given what people see in terms of their ethics, their honesty, what do people think should be done?
Yeah, they think there should be a formal ethics code with the United States Supreme Court, right? Like they have those lower federal courts that a lot of people in the executive, legislative have to agree upon. Look at this. 90%. When do you ever find 90% of Americans
You don't.
agreeing on anything? Or north of 80% of independents, Republicans, nearly 100%, 96% of Democrats. There's universal agreement on this, Erica.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also been a lot of surprise in recent months since more of this reporting has come out that there is not an ethics code.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
I find that in conversations with people. Give me a sense, has public opinion changed over the years?
Yes.
And how significantly?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I think there's this real question about, especially as we've had these Supreme Court rulings that have come down over the last few years that are controversial, whether it be Justice Thomas and perhaps these ethical quandaries that he's landed himself in, is whether or not the United States Supreme Court has too much power. And what we see is, while still the majority of Americans don't believe that, look at the trend line that we've seen on too much power over the last few years. You know, you go back to 2019, you see it was just 21%. You jump forward now to 2023, look at that. It's nearly doubled to 40%.
In 4 years.
In 4 years, you very rarely see that type of public movement in such a short period of time. So I think what we're seeing with Justice Thomas and sort of the controversy surrounding the Supreme Court, the American public wants to tap on the brakes a little bit, and they say, you know what, maybe they do have a little too much power. Maybe we should take some of it back.
We'll see if that happens.
We'll
Harry,
see.
always good to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.